All right. What is good for the culture family? It is Friday. It has been an absolute great week. I want to actually recover or just hop back into what we were talking about yesterday in our pre-market prep. What are the things that we saw? Yesterday, I told you guys that the areas that you wanted to keep an eye on for was 34.05, and that it was likely that we would just see a continued push down to this 33.63 lows here. Yesterday in our session, we actually didn't see this move all the way down to this 33.63 lows. This is actually what happened during our Asian session, which was sent out to our VIP members, that it was likely that we'd see this move to the downside. And I don't want us to make the mistake of not starting with the top-down analysis, which is kind of how I go through all of every setup that I go through. I generally know what it is that price is doing on a large time frame, so I don't always just hop directly into it. So going into it, starting with our daily time frame, our previous daily candle closed as a bearish candle. Even though we have this rejection to the downside, it did in fact close as a bearish candle, which was likely that price would continue pushing to the downside. Why? Because our lower time frame structure just remained in this bearish trend. There wasn't a ton of volume this week, but price has just been respecting supply and demand, creating lower lows and lower highs within this bearish structure. And in order for this structure to flip bullish, there would need to be some type of increase in volume. And we didn't have any news on the back end of this week. So there was, nothing that could truly drive the markets from its slow corrective structure that it is. Why do I say that this is just a corrective structure if we've been pushing down all week? Well, because on a larger time frame, we are still bullish, right? So if we come to our daily time frame, price is creating higher highs and higher lows. We had a low get created, a high created a lower low, right? That makes this a bearish trend. But then we push up and we broke through this high. So what have we been seeing this whole week is a slow correction to the downside. As long as price doesn't break this low on the daily time frame, which is a steep move to the downside, we can anticipate that price is still going to be bullish and that we will likely break this all-time high here at the 35.10 level. So let me put that up here. It's like 35.10, 35.09. 35.10 is actually a solid number to target in terms of all-time highs. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? So it is going to go to this 35.10 because price just within time throughout history for gold goes up. We are in a time of uncertainty with everything going on in the war. If you've been keeping up with that, and you can just see that gold is like, and I say this a lot, gold is the asset that the wealthiest of wealthy are buying into, and not just on the charts, but actually holding gold, because gold holds its weight literally in gold. I think I say that almost every day when we start off our session. But dialing it down to now our smaller time frame here, we're going to take a look at what we see in terms of our market structure. So yesterday I told everybody in our VIP after that daily candle closed that it was likely that we see a retest and a continued move to the downside. I tried to get the video up for you guys because yesterday's video that I tried to play didn't have a lot of sound, so you weren't able to hear it. I wasn't able to get it up for today, so I'll make sure that I get that in order so that you guys can start to see some of these daily recaps that we send out so that you understand. Because though I don't trade the Asian session, I did set up a trade as price had rejected off of this high here. It was likely that we would see a steeper move to the downside. Then if we dial down to our lower time frame here, you can see price was creating, let's dial down to the 5-minute, you'll see it a little bit clearer. You can see that within this structure, price was creating higher highs and higher lows, right? We're creating higher highs, higher lows. Price push up, creates this high. It rejects off of a larger time frame area. How do we know? This wick right here is a sign of rejection. And then what else is an extra confluence of a rejection? This impulsive move to the downside. So we have a high volume move to the downside, pushes up. Now we start to break through these lows. Once price broke through these lows, I think it was like somewhere within here. Let's go to our 15-minute time frame because that's where I was looking at. Oh, okay. So this specifically, this 15-minute candle is where I was looking at a sell move, stops above this area because this was our resistance. We had just created a low, created a high, created a new low, price retesting in that area. We get a 15-minute candle close bearish, and this is a key candle, right? This candle here is like the holy grail of candles, because what we can see when we get this candle, especially if we're at our key area of interest, is this wick filled to the downside. Likewise of the trade that we took yesterday in our actual session. And if you guys are not in the free Telegram, I posted the recap of the trade that we took yesterday. Not just the recap, but the actual live video of us taking the trade during our session. So you can go in there. I'll make sure I'll add that to the link in the description so that you guys can join there. But we'll actually show it here Thursday. Okay, right here. So price was rejecting off of our high. Oh, wait. Where were we at in session? Okay, here it is. This 15-minute candle. So our lower time frame had pushed to the downside. If we dial down to our 5-minute, took our trade right here. So price had just swept through these lows with this move to the downside. We swept this low, but then once we retested in this area, we started to have some bearish volume. When price pushed down, I believe it was, I gotta dial down to the 1-minute time frame so I can get the exact entry of where we were at. Here we go. All right, there it is. So on our 1-minute time frame here, we could see price was creating higher highs and higher lows within this structure here. Then we seen a shift with volume. You see this candle, this is a high volume move. We had a correction up, another move to the downside, confirming that price is in fact in a bearish trend. We had another move up, correction to the downside. We were looking for sell moves within this area if waiting for our first 1-minute candle to close bearish. We didn't get it here. You can see price pushed up. We were just waiting. And then here, when we got this candle to close and it aligns with our 5-minute time frame. So if I pull it up here, it aligned with this 5-minute time frame here in this area of resistance. And I just dropped my trade so that you guys can see it. Here we go. So on this 1-minute candle, first bearish 1-minute candle that closed, this was our entry. We had our stops tucked above this high here. I just got a 1 to 2 risk to reward, but our members know that how we actually execute on our trades is by waiting for, you know, the first bullish 1-minute candle to close following our take profit hit. Should have made a little bit more on this trade yesterday. It's a 1 to 3 instead of a 1 to 2, but a 1 to 2 is solid. So what are we looking for today during our market session? During our session today, we are going to be looking for some key targeted areas. So price is confirming that we are still in a bearish trend. Price is confirming this by what we see happening on our lower time frame, as we just had a lower time frame low get broken. So this was our key low. Price just broke through this low. If this was our key low, then what is our key high? Our key high is the starting of the push that broke for the low. So if we go drag all the way back to the start of the push, the highest point, that's our key high. So in order for this structure to flip bullish and for us to even consider buys, we would need this high to get broken or a ton of bullish volume, which is not likely because we don't have any news. So in terms of targets, where can we look for price to go? Well, if this 4-hour candle closes bearish, it's likely that the next 4-hour candle goes ahead and sweeps the 4-hour candle low. And if we see a rejection off of here, even if price pushes up, I believe that this 33.56 level is likely to get targeted here, even on the lower time frame. This could happen, you know, even before we hop on our session with our VIP members. Other areas of interest, we would have to dial down to the smaller time frame to look for areas in the market in the past where the market has rejected off of. As you can see, this is a strong area. So I believe if we break through this area, we could potentially see some volume to the downside. Nothing over here. So in terms of what we see and how I will capitalize, if we come into our session and price is broken through this low and created a new low, I'll just wait for my correction and then a continuation targeting whatever the low is that gets created. That's how I set my target and target profit. But as of now, you know this 33.56 level is definitely likely to get broken, and then we'll look for a continuation of this sell move to the downside. If this low does in fact get broken here, that would validate this as our new key high. So you would adjust the key high from being up here, I'm pointing to it like you guys can see, from up here to right here, and that'll be the new key high. So if that high gets broken, then you could potentially see a flip. It's not likely that we take out these larger time frame structures though, because we just don't have a ton of volume. And you got to think of price like a magnet. It's getting pulled to the downside, so every time we tap into a supply or demand zone, it's just rejecting off of that area. You can think of this as, you know, two negative magnets, right? As it pushes up to the top, it's getting repelled off of the top, and then it just flows down. And in order to flip this, we need something that's going to be stronger than the magnet that we have pushing it down, because it'll just keep flowing down. And that is what volume does. That's what those high volume news events do, which is why we key them in the weekend session. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking for, 33.56. If we see a break of the low, we'll just target whatever the low is that gets created. We'll look for our solid sell move to the downside, and we'll just go from there. All right, so let's take a look at NQ. NQ here yesterday. Let's talk about this because this is tough. So I told you guys yesterday, and this is the same area that I told you guys that we're going to look to target yesterday in terms of a sell move to the downside. What do we see happen on the daily time frame the day before? So we had a bearish daily, or we had a bullish daily candle close. But even though this candle closed as a bullish candle, it had a long wick, which was a sign of a rejection, just like what we've seen off of this key low. Why? Because this larger time frame is still bullish, so we had a rejection here. But what did we see happen the day before? We had a lower time frame was our confirmation. So how I use this is I use the daily, the 4-hour to set our direction. So the daily and the 4-hour is for our direction. Once we know our direction, we use the 1 hour, the 30-minute, 15-minute, especially the 5-minute and the 1 minute as our confirmation, right? So we use our 4-hour and daily as our direction. It's going to give us what direction we're going to go. And then our lower time frame for our confirmation. So we already had seen the rejection. And yesterday I said it was likely that we see a continued move to the downside. Likely to do what? Fill this gap. Why? Because gaps get filled. This is something that I want you guys to know. This is like a cheat code right here. Gaps get filled. These make for some of the best trades because it's like, okay, I know that there's a gap. We open with a gap, and I explained yesterday why these gaps happen. Over the weekend, price moves while the market is closed. We can't see that data, but it would look similar to what we've seen, or like how we see a gap happening here. A small gap is that we have a ton of volume in a session close or open, right? So we'll see a ton of volume. You can see through this Thursday last night at 1800. What's that, like 6 o'clock? At the start of the new daily. So daily closed, and then we immediately bought up off of this level, which doubles not only as a gap fill, but a larger time frame area of resistance. And then, so what are we seeing on the daily time frame? The daily rejecting off of that area. This is a strong sign of weakness in terms of sell pressure and a strong bullish sign. Right, so this is how we use, I guess you could say, the larger time frame to confirm or to set our direction, and then the smaller time frame to confirm. So yesterday we seen the smaller time frame confirming that we were in a downtrend. Then the larger time frame came to a larger time frame area of interest. Why do I say that this is my larger time frame area of interest? Because you can see that price was creating, we had created a high, we created a low. This is the key low. We broke through the high. Price did push down, and if we were looking at like the daily time frame, you wouldn't see this. So this can be confusing. This structure did shift because you can see we had a high get broken, low, new high, new low, new high. It's flipped the structure, key high, dropped down, but respected the larger time frame low. So if I drew it out on the daily time frame, it still doesn't look clear. There's got to be something like a 12-hour. Let's pull up the 12-hour so I could better drive this point. Where is it at? Is there no 12-hour? I'm pretty sure I've seen people have 12-hour. Let me see. Custom interview. We're going to go hours, and we're going to do 12. Okay. All right. No, I could do it. I just have to upgrade. I'm going to have to upgrade over the weekend so that we can make sure that we could do all these things. But, yeah, so we rejected off of that area. Then what did we see happen? A lower time frame shift. Price took out this high. We created a low, new high, new low. We have volume to the bullish side. Where are our targets for today? That's what everybody wants to know, right? What are the targets and what can we look for today in terms of the move? Well, we just have a ton of volume, right? So I'm not too inclined to just buying with volume. I like to see some type of structural pullback. Right now, this thing is just kind of taking off. It's not something that I would be too inclined to buy. But if I was going to trade this, I would wait for the 4-hour time frame to close. Why? Because, well, we're at a key area in the markets where we could see some potential rejection. Why? Because price was creating lower lows and lower highs within this corrective structure, because we know on the lower time frame, this is just a corrective structure. And so this is still an area that price has rejected off of in the past. And so being patient to see how price reacts, especially after we just had all that volume on the lower time frame with no corrective structure. If a corrective structure were to form, it would be, and this is a great point, to make corrective structures form either at a high or after breaking a high. So we would see a correction either after breaking it or at the area of interest. So, we haven't had any correction. In terms of targets, I would just wait and see what price is doing in terms of, right now it's bullish. So as long as it closes bullish on the 4-hour, as strong as it is, I don't see why price couldn't make a steeper move to the upside with this bullish candle structure here. We'll take a buy. Candle. To break through these highs and even start to, potentially target, this is the wrong tool, and potentially start to fill this to the upside. Now I'm not saying that this is going to happen today, but this is what we could potentially see happening coming into next week. Possibly a break of this high. We'll likely see some type of correction after that, and then maybe another steeper move up to target these highs up here, which price is getting overall pulled to because the larger time frame structure is in fact bullish. So as of right now, the structure on the lower time frame is bullish. In terms of target, just like I said, wait to see if we hold this bullish volume for the next hour and 10 minutes here. Otherwise, looking for a correction and a continuation of that bullish move. I wouldn't be too inclined on trading this today. It is Friday. We have went 4-4 on the week. You can see this is the setup that we drew out yesterday for our session when we was in our pre-market prep, and it worked beautifully, right? So what were we talking about yesterday in our pre-market prep? We had our daily time frame close. If we go over here, we had our daily time frame close, same as in Q, as a bullish daily candle, but a huge sign of wick rejection. And on the smaller time frame, if we dial down to let's say our 30-minute time frame here, you can see that price in fact took out a key low. So it created a low, created a high, created a new low. Then price took out that high. That makes the structure now bullish, but then it came and swept the key low. This means that this is a false breakout and that price is still pushing to the downside. But what did we do after we broke that low? We actually technically pulled up back into this area, and then price pushed back down. So when we were in our session yesterday, Let's go to where we were at yesterday. So when we came into our session yesterday, price was right in this area, right? So we were saying that we had already pushed to the downside. We had taken out this low here. We corrected, we pushed down again, took out that low, and that it was likely that we just seen a correction and a continuation, down back to this larger time frame level here. What did we see happen at that larger time frame level? A reversal. That's why we want to wait to see how price reacts at these key levels. That's kind of what I mean why waiting at this area of interest for NQ is so important, because these are areas where you can see these larger time frame flips. Likewise with ES, or the S&P 500, whatever you're watching it on Forex or futures, whatever you're planning on trading it on Forex or futures, we've seen that steeper move to the downside, targeting that gap fill. That's all we wanted to see happen. The gap got filled. Price then rejected off of the larger time frame key low. Here, template zone. And now we can see a steeper move to the upside. Same thing with ES. We're just going to remove all of these, clear up this a little bit. We rejected off of this level here, and then on our lower time frame, we had a lower time frame shift with volume. This is what we would want to see in order to flip our overall structure. The only thing that can happen to flip our structure is we need to see first confirmation, a larger time frame area get respected. Okay, second confirmation is high volume. And then 3, the market shift and continue pushing in that direction with volume. This is the makings of price making a steeper move to the upside. And this being potentially the lowest point, and then we go to break. I believe this is, if I'm not mistaken, the all-time high. So the all-time high is up here. So a little bit of ways to go as we, approach this all-time high again. But that's overall where the markets is pulling towards in terms of this structure currently. So what are we looking for today? Same thing. Just, overall on the lower time frame, we are in a bullish market structure. If this holds, then looking for a correction and then continuation to break whatever the high is that gets created, before the correction, and then, going from there. Like I said, not too inclined to trade in something that's kind of ran off like this. We've had 2 impulsive spikes, and we're, entering that key area of interest, of resistance, where you can start to see some pullbacks. We haven't had a pullback yet, and so, it leaves me open. But in terms of volume, all the volume is showing that price is in fact bullish. We had a rejection off a larger time frame level, and it's likely that we start to make a push towards these highs. Even if we're just targeting these highs today, it's likely that next week we start to see a correction and a continuation to break through these highs. Now let's take a look at the weekly. Weekly is extremely bullish, and I don't think that there's anything today. I'm not saying that this can't happen, because we see markets reject off of areas all the time, but I don't think that there's anything today that will just push this daily down, considering how much we rejected off of this area, right? This is a huge sign of sell weakness, or bullish pressure. A huge sign of bullish pressure is, I guess, a better term for it. So I don't see this, pushing down, but it can. And if it does, that's something we'll cover in our VIP session. And then for those in the VIP session, we'll cover it this weekend to kind of talk about what happened for the week, and then, setting up our plan going into next week. That'll be tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll hop on at the same time, and we'll just we'll review everything that we did this week. 4 for 4 this week in terms of trades and setups. It was absolutely great week, even though a relative slow week, a week that most traders are taking off, right? Traders aren't looking to trade this, but if you know how to capitalize on the larger or the lower time frame structure, then this is not a problem. 4 for 4 in this chop on this lower time frame moves to the downside, but it's just slow. So there's 2 times you want to dial down to the smaller time frame: when we have a lot of volume, and when we have a little bit of volume. So if markets are like moving regular, I like to stay around the 5 and the 15 minute. But if markets are moving super fast, then you gotta, in order to see the structure, you gotta go down to the 1 minute time frame. And if they're moving super slow, in order to see it, you gotta come down to this, 5 minute, 1 minute time frame structure to start to see, oh, what are we doing on this 1 minute? The 1 minute just created a new low. We created a lower high. We haven't broken through this low, so this is still the key high, but it's likely where does price get pulled to? This low right here. These are scalable entries, or where we could look to target our larger time frame area, our 4-hour low at this 33.56. So if you understand how to just trade, or how to identify price action and market structure, it's not even trading at this point. It's just identifying, what are these candles telling me? What is the overall story? What is the bigger picture, starting with our larger time frame, and then dialing it down to what is the story that the candles are telling me. We never want to say, hey, I think price is going to reject off of here. We can anticipate that price could reject off of an area, but what do we have to do? We got to wait for our confirmation. Price to show us that it's rejecting off of an area, or price to show us that it's time to get in, or price to show us that it's pushing to the downside. These areas, they're areas that prices in, I guess you could say, right? So if we can just learn how to read the structure, it doesn't matter if price is running crazy bullish or slow bearish, you'll be able to capitalize. All right. So I'll see you guys, I guess Monday, right? If you're not in the free Telegram, I'm going to drop the free Telegram in here real quick for those of you who are not in it. And if you want to join the VIP from there, you can join the VIP. It'll be pinned in the chat, or it'll be pinned in the Telegram. So but I hope to see you guys in our live session. For those of you who will be in the live session, I will see you guys there in about 30 minutes. Enter that in there. You can join our free Telegram. You can stay up to date with all the things that we're doing, all the trades that we take. I generally post recaps of certain trades, or not certain trades, of trades that we take, moves that we said that were broken down here. We'll take a little bit more of a deeper dive in there, sometimes on recaps of what happened. So if you want to just stay up to date with what's going on, what you can expect in the markets, you can join up through there. So see you guys. I guess Monday is Friday. So I'll see you guys Monday. You guys have a great weekend, and hope this week was profitable for you, and you continue snapping next week. Keep that same discipline.